Welcome back to New Horizon Podcast. It is I, Miguel Rangel, and I am here today with a really amazing friend who's not only just a friend, but he's a worship leader at Bridge Church Woodlands, and he is also our guitar player, Mr. DJ Richie.
Well, thank you, Miguel. That was a really good introduction, um, so thank you.
Awesome. So DJ is here today to talk a little bit about himself. Not in that way, but he will be sharing a testimony. So DJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, my name's DJ, and I've been happily married for going on 8 years now. Got 3 baby girls. I've been in worship ministry for a good while now. Started off as a worship pastor's kid, so kind of just in and out of the church my whole life. Not away from the church, but in the church as a child, running around, that kind of stuff. And just going in through college, starting to learn guitar, and eventually becoming more comfortable leading worship and that kind of stuff. And it's kind of just flourished into that's who I am in ministry at this time in my life. So, yeah.
And DJ and I go way back to 2012.
Yeah, 2012. Yeah, I would say so. That's when Jazz and I met, which is my wife, and that's when I was introduced to you and in the church there at the time.
Yeah. So DJ is he's become part of the Allen family, who are very famous in our podcast. We pretty much mention them almost every episode. Sorry, Allen family. But DJ came to our church, was helping us out while he was dating his wife. And next thing you know, he became family.
Yeah.
But I was there first.
Yeah, it's true.
So, DJ, today you wanted to share with us a little bit of what it was like to learn how to trust God and knowing that He will always provide even when we're not really seeing it. And I say that because there are times in our lives where we're going to go through it and we're not seeing the hand of God, but we have to learn how to trust and understand that God's provision will always be there. So let's go ahead and get straight to it. Tell us a little bit about your testimony and how you had to learn to trust God's provision.
Well, I would say it started right after my wife and I got married. We were, living in an apartment. I was a teacher at the time, so this is before I got into sales and whatnot. It's what I do now, and the biggest thing is that living in the apartment, we always wanted to get out and get into a house, get out of debt, get out of my student loans, and that kind of stuff that I had, and it started with when we were having our first child, Finley. I needed to get a part-time job because teaching doesn't pay the bills really. Mm-hmm. And so what I did with the prompting of my beautiful wife, I got a second job delivering furniture at a local furniture store, and which became eventually my new job. And so God provided there. And provided the finances, provided the opportunity for me to grow in that direction. And so years went by. We were still in an apartment, wanted to get out, and we wanted to make that next step. And so trusting in God, putting Him first instead of just sitting there and just never knowing what's going to happen. So what we did was we took a leap of faith and we moved into my in-laws' house, the Allens. And so that was fun at the time. At that point in time, we had 2 little girls, and we lived there for 2 years, trying to find a house and trying to get our finances together and everything. And so what happened there, while we were doing that, we felt God telling us, go ahead and get out of debt while you're trying to save it for a house. So we decided to, focus all of our attention on that and we weren't perfect at all. We made choices that were not what we needed to make, and we had setbacks. I had a surgery with my foot, and so that was a whole thing. I had to be off of work for a good while. During that time, I also lost both of my grandfathers, and so that was a hard point in my life too. So a lot of stumbling blocks through all of that, but we decided to continue to be faithful and looking. And so we decided, okay, we don't have the money right now to actually put anything down on a house, but just a little bit. And so we decided to just keep going and see what happens. So we met up with a builder and to see if there were anything available. And so we did. We looked at one house that was within what we thought was our budget, our range. And we didn't feel like God was saying, this is the house. This is not what we need. This is not where we're at, what we need to be in. And we told the lady that was showing us the house, we're like, that, it's just small yard. This isn't what God, we don't feel like this is prompting in us that we need.
Especially with the children.
Exactly. Yeah. At that point in time, at this point, we were pregnant with our third, and we needed a place to live with 3 kids. We don't want to just continue to live in my in-laws' house. And so that's within just 10 minutes. She was like, "Hey, actually, we have a house down the street, and let's take a look at it. I don't know what we can do." And it was still within what we were thinking. The prices were amazing. The house was a lot bigger. There was more square footage, and it was just a little bit more. And we knew when we were locked in the house that this is doable.
Yeah.
And so, moving forward from there, everything just lined up perfectly for us to go ahead.
Let me stop you right there real quick. Just the beginning here caught my attention. You felt in your heart, or both of you felt in y'all's heart, that the Lord told you, pay off your debt while you're saving for a house. He never said it was going to be easy. He never said he was going to, make it nice and cozy as you're going through it. And then I hear you say, and we hit a lot of bumps. Leg surgery. You lost both of your grandfathers. You're staying in your in-laws' house. So I'm assuming at one point you must have felt like the world was caving in, maybe.
Oh, definitely.
Were there times where you were second guessing the decision that you had made? Or maybe there was a moment where you were second guessing that the Lord had actually spoken to you. Do you know? Can you just speak out a little bit on that?
Yeah. So I would say the entire time when you make especially when you make a drastic decision to step out of your comfort zone, there's always doubt that creeps in. There's always not resentment, but fear. Fear's gripped my life for a long time, from the time I was a little child and until now. It still creeps up. It's still there, and so you get those thoughts of doubt and unbelief and the fear of the unknown. And we've noticed, my wife and I and my children have noticed, that when you do step out, even though it's uncomfortable and you don't know what's there in the murky water, but stepping out in that water anyway, it always turns out not the way you expected, but it works out. And there's only one reason it can. And, that's just the faith and the provision that God provides. It's going to be there.
So you had to get out of your comfort zone, even though you were afraid, even though you were maybe doubting a little bit, but you had to, or you learned to understand that, and this is good for the listeners here, because what I'm hearing you say is, and I love the fact that you use the term murky water. You don't know what you're stepping into. This is what a leap of faith truly looks like. When you don't know what you're going at, you don't know what you're going to face. You have no idea the battles that are, you know, ahead of you. You have no idea how deep that valley, truly is. But here you are saying, but one thing I do know, and I'm sure of, is that God will make a way. God has made a way before, and he'll make a way again. And I think this is good for the listener because we all go through that. We've all stepped into the murky waters where we're wondering, dude, what's in this? Am I gonna get bitten by a snake? No pun intended. It's an inside joke there. Not really a joke because it happened in real life. But sorry, give back.
That was pretty recent, actually.
But we question what's in the waters. Am I gonna get bit? Is something gonna happen? Am I gonna drown? Am I even gonna make it across? But here you are saying, trust that God will make a way, and He made a way. So now you're standing in front of this beautiful home that was bigger than the one you saw before, and you said it was doable. Then what?
Well, we shouldn't have been able to afford it, first of all. We didn't have the down payment for it. We didn't have, we still had some things that didn't look like it was going to work out. And, I mean, what God was able to provide for us is just unfathomable. So we were able to get in the house a month before our youngest was born. And we were just in shock. We were in awe. Just what, there's no way this could have happened to us. And so being able to afford the down payment we had to, it was dropped by, I don't want to say the exact amount because I can't remember, honestly. I need my wife here to tell me that. But the amount of just things that lined up for us to be able to get there, it blows my mind because I just feel like we shouldn't have been able to, and I'm still in shock.
What kind of teacher were you?
A math teacher.
Okay, so this is the Lord here. So in other words, as a math teacher, doing your math, right? There was no way that you could have stepped foot into this house whatsoever.
No.
I mean, it was literally impossible. So what happened?
As far as getting into the house, we go ahead.
I'm in awe. Because, I mean, one of two things. Either you suck at math, but I doubt it because you literally graduated, or there was something more.
Honestly, it's just, you want to use all the Christianese words and stuff about how, God provided, but it leaves you in awe of what He's able to do, because there's no possible way that we could have gotten into the house, because we literally didn't have any money in the bank, and we've had circumstances since we've been in the house of God's provision in our lives. And so I had we had the pregnancy, we had the delivery, and I had to be off for that period of time. I don't have a lot of time off. I'm not able to do all that. But I've got an environment at work where I'm able to be able to take time without losing a position that I'm at, or whatever it is, if you want to say it like that, to where it's a good Christian environment. And so I'm able to put family first in that. And that's tough. That's a tough place to be in. And God provided that. And going back to the beginning when I was talking about needing to get us, have that provision, I've been able to continuously have that. And my wife, she works. She's at home. She doesn't work in the typical sense. She's at home with the children, and we're homeschooling our oldest right now. And there's just things that you're like, you shouldn't be able to make it on what we make. What I make income wise.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be able to do that. And with just myself working, and God just provides a way. I was, as Miguel alluded to earlier, I got bit by a snake, and I had to take time off again because I literally couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything.
Because it wasn't just any snake; it was literally a poisonous or venomous snake.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I mean, it knocked you down.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean,
don't
it's
go
amazing.
Walking around barefoot.
Definitely not in
at
Texas.
Night.
Especially around the Huffman, New Caney, Porter.
Yeah. Backed up to woods.
Yeah. Definitely put some shoes on.
Yep.
We're gonna have to start walking around with steel toes.
Yeah, there's a sermon in there.
Ooh,
Come on.
I love it. The next title for the preaching: Don't get bit.
Wear your steel toes.
But I'm shocked because, I mean, here you are again, and I want to point this out because this is where to me it's amazing. Here we are. You are a legit math teacher, right? So you know how to do your math. You know how numbers work, especially in the sales industry, right? I'm in the sales industry as well. So we know how math works. We tend to know how interest rates work and percentages and all that. We know how these work. And when you're here telling me there is no way that with my income and having to take time off and all that, I should have been able to afford my living. This is a math teacher who has been mathing for a very long time.
Yeah, I got outmathed by God.
And he got outmathed by the math magician.
Boom.
The Lord Jesus Christ. Boom. Mic drop. Episode done. See you next time. But here you are. I mean, and then God shows up and says, man, get out of here. Right?
Yeah.
This is the way God's provision works.
Makes a way when there is no way.
It took a leap of faith to step into murky waters to literally get bitten by a snake. Right? We can do it. You can do it spiritually, but not only did it happen to you spiritually, but it literally happened to you. You took a leap of faith, stepped into the murky water. Things happened while you were in the murky water. God provided then. He took you out of the murky water, gave you a place to call home for you, your wife, and your beautiful young, baby still.
Yeah.
And then he's still providing them.
100%.
How does that make you feel?
You get your highs and lows because you forget what God's done in your life. As I
say that, say that again. Say that again.
You forget what God's done, and it's very it's humbling when you remember. Oh, by the way, remember I've done this for you. This, and this. Shoot, I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about today on the podcast because I forgot so much. I mean, I probably have tons of stuff that I'm thinking about just now of things God's done in my life and things God's provided for that I never think about because it just happened. And that's the part that you have to be very conscious of is I didn't do this. This isn't about me. the Lord's done this for me in my life. God's provided. He makes that path, and He provides the ram in the bush. He provides everything because He is everything.
It's crazy that you said that. I was literally thinking about that story right now. I was like, this story reminded me of Abraham. When God's telling him, hey, prove it. Take the leap of faith. Prove it. And there he is getting ready to sacrifice his own beloved child. And the Lord says, hey, you've proven it. Or you've proven it. And then He provided the ram.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a testament. And I never connected really that moment, that story, that scene with what has happened with us. And it's very true. It's very accurate.
And the importance of, for a long time, I had a lot of people tell me, you talk too much about your testimony. Maybe you should change it up a little bit. Maybe you should talk about something else. Maybe you shouldn't use your life all the time in your preachings. I get it. In today's time, if I can be blunt, in today's world, people would consider Noah one of the worst preachers ever. Because he literally preached for 120 years, yet no one was converted. And Noah preached the same message every single day for 120 years. And not one person got converted.
Yeah.
So I get it. People might not want to hear the same thing over and over. But the important thing about actually sharing your testimony a lot is that you will never forget what the Lord has done in your life. Because a lot of times the reason why we struggle is because we tend to forget what God has done for you, and you start thinking that you've overcome by yourself, not realizing that God has been there every single step of the way. This is a perfect testimony of how God was there before you started. He was there while you were walking through it, and He's still there today. That means the God of the outcome is the same God of the process. The only difference thing is that you need to learn how to trust the God in your process and your God in the outcome.
Yes.
And I just love that.
It's going back to what you just said about those who share the same testimony time in and time out. How many of us never take the opportunity to even share those things God's done in your life?
Love it.
Because everyone has something that they have to share with someone.
Yeah.
And I hope somebody listens and this resonates with somebody in their life today, knowing that when there's absolutely no fathomable way for the outcome that is needed in your life to come to fruition,
yeah,
it can happen, and it will. It might not happen the way you think it would.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to live in the Allen's house for 3 months and be out. and my father-in-law looked at me and he said, "Yeah, okay, just be prepared. I know for sure you're going to be here for more than a year." He knew that was going to happen because he had something prompted in his spirit,
yeah,
or he just wanted us to hang out there with him. I don't know, whichever one.
He was lonely.
It was probably that one. Yeah,
well, we're gonna go with he was lonely.
Likely. Oh man, but it's hard to wrap your mind around It's hard to wrap your mind around it.
Yeah. I mean, Ecclesiastes 3, there's a time for everything. There's a time to mourn. There's a time to be rejoiceful. There's a time to sow. There's a time to harvest. There is a time for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perfect. The way God works is perfect. And if there's anything that we can learn, including myself, from today, is to learn that God will always provide. No matter what season of life you're in, God will always provide. So, DJ, how would you say that this testimony has affected you spiritually?
So I'll harken back to what I said before. You forget, and this might be counter of the questions that's asked, but spiritually, it's so easy to let it fall by the wayside. And yeah, I'd love to say that it's, you wake up every morning and you're in your house and you just thanking God for everything in your life. No, you forget those things. You forget what He's done, and you just worry about the moment that's happening right in front of you. And that is not the place that I want to be at, not the place that my wife and my kids and our family want to be at. You get caught in the monotony of day to day to day to day. But you have those glimpses of moments when you're sitting with your kids at the dinner table, or when you're reading a book to them at night before they go to bed, and you're sitting there and you're about to pray. Every night we try to have the kids talk to us about what they're grateful for, and it's changed over the year about different things that are happening in our lives and stuff. But one of the first things we would say, we're thankful for our house. Thankful for my girls. I'm thankful for my family and what God's provided for us. And we wouldn't have had any of that if we did not have the roof over our head that we do. And then beyond that, none of that matters.
Yeah.
None of that matters. The house that you're in is just a vessel that keeps you dry, keeps you warm, keeps you safe from the elements. It's that family unit that you have that is the testament of God's grace and mercy and His provision in our lives. And I feel like it's brought us closer together, brought us closer to God. And no one day is perfect.
Yeah.
Not one day is perfect. But I can wake up in the morning before the family gets up, before everyone gets up, and go out and tend to my garden that I have in my backyard. Mm-hmm. That's mine. I can go work out in the garage. That's mine. I can go play guitar out in the in the house whereas I didn't have those opportunities when I didn't have my own place where I lived, and my family get to run around the house with no cares in the world. My wife has the opportunity to go into a different room.
Yeah.
Instead of the one room that we lived in, that we had in.
Yeah.
And so seeing God's provision in our life is everywhere, even if it's not the house. Yeah.
I'm about to, this is going to be a whole preaching for me here, but don't become selfish. And that's going to be one of my prayers now. God, do not allow me to become selfish to where I forget the good things you've done for me. This last week, my cousin had back surgery, right? And he's at the hospital. And when I go in there and I hug him and I'm talking to him, he's like, man, I didn't know how good God was to just be able to walk. Right? Now, He can still walk now, but obviously he's in a lot of pain because of his back. But sometimes we take for granted the little things of just taking a deep breath, being able to see, being able to walk, talk, have people. So my encouragement to my listeners, if they didn't get anything out of today's episode, if they can get anything, and which I'm pretty sure they did, let it be to constantly be reminded of God's goodness and God's provision in every area of your life, and be thankful for that. Whether you find yourself in a season of the beginning, maybe you're in the season of where you're in the murky water or the valley, or maybe you're already in the outcome of your season. Be thankful to God for everything He's done and all that He has provided. DJ, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, God bless you.